our website, starborninstitute.org, you'd already know that the title of tonight's show is Crunch Time. Oh boy, and it starts right away. In fact, crunch time could start as early as tomorrow. And even if it doesn't hit you or me, it could be all around us right now. So we should prepare ourselves for something that is in a situation that is sort of a now or never situation. And that is because right now we have 6 planets. We have been having 4, then last week we had 5, and now this week we have 6 planets that are all in harsh aspect among the fixed signs, and that includes all 3 malefic planets. But the reason why we are facing crunch time actually begins right away, tomorrow, the 29th, because 2 of the 6 planets are at the 29th degree of fate. And that's a sort of a now or never degree. The 29th degree is the end of the sign. There's no more room to move. And it's somewhat ominous, the way these 2 planets are set up. Every once in a while you can see one planet that is at the 29th degree of fate, but you rarely ever see 2 of those at the same time. But that's what's happening tomorrow. And that's why we need to be careful, because Mars is in Leo. It's a malefic planet, and it is joining the Sun and Mercury in Leo as well. And that Mars is at the 29th degree of fate in Leo. The 29th degree in Leo is the exact position of the fixed royal star Regulus, which has the brightness of 100 of our suns. Oh, is it a good star? And so, you know, it's not in orbit, it's not a planet, it's a star. It's there at 29 degrees of Leo. But now, tomorrow, Mars will be also in perfect alignment with it at 29 degrees. Well, Mars is a planet that rules war, and it rules destruction, anger, jealousy, greed, envy, intense competition. And so it really is a sort of a malefic. That's why they called it a malefic planet, because it's generally out to hurt somebody or out to get what they want. And that planet is right on the same spot. They're not next door to each other, but as the fixed royal star Regulus. And so to me, that sort of looks like somebody who's a very bright light is the target for others who would like to destroy it. And that could be a country that's a very bright light, has done everything right, or it could be a leader, or it could be a group. It could be anywhere, but it could be typified by the royal star Regulus because it's occurring at the 29th degree in Leo, and that is such a wonderfully strong and beautiful star. And so Mars is coming along, and it looks to me like they want it, that Mars represents others who might want to go to war, who might want to destroy something very good. So we have that to contend with. But remember, I said it's very rare that you would see 2 planets at the 29th degree of fate, both at the same time. But that's what's happening tomorrow, because there's Mars at the 29th degree of Leo, and now Jupiter has gone back into Aquarius. It is retrograde, and it is at the 29th degree of Aquarius, the degree of fate, and Aquarius rules the future. And it is accompanying Saturn, which is also in Aquarius, and both of those planets are retrograde. So Jupiter is a wonderful planet of abundance and goodness. It's too bad it's not near that regular star. But it is opposing Mars. And so it's crunch time between the people who have got oh, they want to sort of have control, or they want to have power over others, or they want to be the boss. And they may go to great lengths to show you that they are that way, taking on a militant role or a very commanding role. At the same time that Jupiter is there opposing that, and since it's in the sign of the future, it could be giving an indication of wanting to go back and check things again, make sure that everything is done right. Remember, Saturn is in the sign too, and Saturn is the planet of time. But it rules your 10th house of career, because Saturn is the traditional ruler of Capricorn, which is the traditional ruler of the 10th house. So here we are with Jupiter saying, hey, wait a minute, I'm going to come back and I want to look things over, and maybe I'm going to review things, maybe I'll change my mind, whatever. But we've got to be sure we're doing the right thing. Whereas Mars isn't caring, and Mars is going to do what it wants. So that's why it's crunch time, because we are looking at the difference of good and evil. We are looking at the difference between truth and lies. Or we are looking at the difference between anything that is honest and upright and for the betterment of all of us versus things that only are set aside for people who are somewhat ruthless and just want to be boss no matter what. So that's what's facing us tomorrow. But these are only 2 of the 6 planets that are in this harsh configuration right now. Remember, I said the Sun, Mercury, and Mars are in Leo. They are opposing Saturn and Jupiter in Aquarius, and these 5 planets are all being squared by Uranus in Taurus. And Uranus is a very strong planet right now. It's the 3rd malefic planet, and its outstanding quality is that it's volatile. You never know what it's going to do. It's full of sudden surprises. But that Uranus is very well backed up. And that's because there's a grand trine in the earth signs right now. So Venus in Virgo is trining that Uranus, and so is Pluto in Capricorn. So it can be that it's crunch time in relation to a financial situation, because Leo, the planets in Leo and in Aquarius, they number 5. Half of all the planets are only in these 2 signs. And 2 of the 5 are at the 29th degree of fate. If nothing else, that's a real strong signal that something is about to happen, or something's going to happen. These are fixed signs. There's no maybe about it. And so we have to be sort of on the alert. It can translate directly into your life as well, because tomorrow is the 29th, but by this weekend, the 31st of July, we are still going to see 6 planets in the fixed signs still squaring each other. It really indicates that we need to be prepared for entering a very stubborn time right now. Very few people are going to be willing to compromise under these aspects. There's too many planets in the fixed signs. But by this weekend, there will still be 6, because Mars it's at the 29th degree of Leo. It'll move into Virgo. But the moon today is reinforcing the planets in Leo, because that moon is in Aries. By the 29th, it'll be in Aries tomorrow. But then it'll go into Taurus. And so that'll make the 6th planet. It will make Taurus even stronger because the moon is exalted in Taurus. So it's sort of all about money right now, and power, and certainly greed. But also there's just a fair amount of people that want to stand up for doing what's right, or doing something over to make sure it's right. And that would have a very favorable effect on everyone's future, including yours. And so that's a very hopeful aspect. And so let's just hope that good does defeat evil right now, or let's hope somebody does not go to war. because not a good idea. You know, it's not the first strike that counts, it's the last one. And so I don't think anybody can win in a war, so I sure hope they don't get in one. Big or small, I don't think they're gonna, whoever starts it is gonna lose it. That's because there's a whole lot of other people around. That Jupiter and Saturn in Aquarius, which rules the future. People want things done right or done over, and they're real serious about it. So that is where we stand right now. So what could the effects for you be of this tremendous period of tension and pressure that we are going to be under for about the next week? Well, there's a lot of things that could affect you one way or another. One of them is that people can just be a little too over-optimistic about their future. They can be going forward and saying, oh, gee, the pandemic's getting over. Everything's going to go back to normal. I don't think that's quite right. The reason why is because if you're so convinced that everything's going to be perfect, then I don't, you know, where do you live? Because most people are getting back on their feet from the pandemic in one way or another, but I wouldn't say that they can all get back to normal. Or maybe it's you that can't get all the way back to normal. All of us have been affected one way or another by this pandemic. And back to normal doesn't mean much if you've just lost a loved one. Or if you're a kid who's missed a whole year of school and not seen and being socially isolated and not seeing any of your friends. That hurts. You know, we've hurt the children more than we know. And there's all kinds of consequences. That's why this is not a time for compromise, unfortunately, but I wish it was, because we need to compromise a little bit more. So if you've been overly optimistic about thinking, oh, everything's just going to get back to normal, I would say that we're all hoping so, and we're all wanting that. But I'm not so sure that we are all going to end up the way we were before the pandemic. You know, some people's hearts have been broken, and some people have lost their jobs, and the world has just changed. And so if we have to go back and look things over, maybe change our mind, change our priorities, well, hey, it's a free country, we can do that. And you know, maybe it'll just be better for us now. Maybe we can help each other get back on our feet. Wouldn't that be nice? There's all kinds of ways of healing, but I know that healing starts by understanding yourself first, actually. So maybe taking a little extra time to ask yourself, where am I today? And how do I feel today? Would be a good idea. And asking yourself how much energy you want to put into something. You should be real honest about that, because the amount of energy that you put into something could be the reason why it succeeds or fails. So you should be real honest about that. Another thing that could be the outcome of so much pressure right now is that it can hurt people in ways that they had not anticipated. For instance, there are still 4 retrograde planets: Pluto in Capricorn, Jupiter and Saturn in Aquarius, and Neptune in Pisces. And with these retrograde planets, it means a lot of people are going back and rethinking things and reviewing not only their actions but other people's actions, and asking themselves, okay, where does that leave me, or how do I want to respond to that now? And so these retrograde planets do represent change, but it's people changing maybe their career direction, or maybe they're changing their mind about something that they were convinced of, say, a year or two ago, but now they're not so sure, or something like that. So we can all work a little bit harder on being totally honest with ourselves. And that's the crunch that we should be facing right now as we prepare to get back on our feet and get going. We can do that. Okay, what does this idea of crunch time mean to all 12 of the sun signs? Aries. Well, Aries, you could feel really energized because the moon is in your sign and it is trining the sun, Mercury, and Mars in Leo, and tomorrow Mars will be at the 29th degree of fate, and that is your own ruler, Aries. So, oh boy, you can almost feel like you are getting shot out of a cannon and are ready to really fly. Well, that's nice, Aries. I mean, there's finally 4 planets in fire signs. That's a lot. There haven't been a lot in the last year. So you can be just all ready to go on something. And you could be very well directed on it. In other words, you know exactly what you want, you know how much time it will take or money that it will take. I mean, you really got everything under control, Aries. The only problem is that at some level in your life, no matter, even if you are in management at a high level, there's another level higher than you. And all I'm saying is it might be just the people at the very top, is that with Pluto in Capricorn squaring your sun and being retrograde, so it's squaring the moon in your sign, if your employer is changing management at the top or is changing their policies and they're cutting their budgets, that could be one of the adverse outcomes of so much pressure and tension that's going on right now. Maybe people just have to, companies and government agencies have to look a little bit more at the bottom line. The year is half over, and there are a lot of businesses or employers who haven't made enough inroads or enough success already to make up for last year's losses. And so they're not really looking at a profit this year either. And that is why things, they can be delayed. And certainly not due to anything that you're doing, Aries, but I'm just saying, slow down a little bit. And trying, it really would be a little bit better if you did not exert yourself too much right now. It doesn't mean you shouldn't be doing your job, but what I'm saying is that if you want to sort of step out into the spotlight, I wouldn't do that right now, Aries. And the reason why is that it makes you a target. And Mars is leaving Leo. After tomorrow, it's leaving it. So you won't have that support. Venus just left it too, so you don't have that support. So what's going to happen is that the pressure around you is going to stay in place. And if that pressure gets to people that you are dependent upon and it changes them, their jobs, their budgets, it's going to have a ripple effect on you too, Aries, even though you haven't done anything. And that's why it's not a good idea to make yourself a target right now. Discretion would be the better part of valor right now. So I hope that you don't stand out too much right now, Aries, because you don't want to be the one that they point to or concentrate on now. Because nobody is in a compromising mood, and they're not going to be, at least not in this next week. So you don't want to get caught in the middle of somebody else's fight, because it could hurt you at a high level. Okay, what does it mean to a Taurus? Well, Taurus, it's very good for you. And the reason why is that your sign has Uranus in it, excuse me, and it's one of the 6 planets that are in a harsh T-cross among, excuse me, I'm sorry, among the fixed signs. And so, because it's also part of this grand trine in earth signs, you can be saying to yourself, well, what can my budget afford? You can be thinking of the future. You might be feeling a little overly optimistic, but your sign is actually, it rules investments and it rules the money that you make. And yours is the sign of the good provider. And your ruler, Venus, is in Virgo, trining your sun, and Pluto in Capricorn is also trining your sun. So as the pressure and the tension builds among a lot of people who want their own way, and it's good versus evil right now, or it's bad versus good, or it's a controversy that almost cannot be resolved unless somebody is thinking they need to go to war for it, and that would be a very stupid move, but they might decide to do that. And then we'd really be under a crunch time, wouldn't we? But Taurus, you're in the position, Taurus is known for their endurance. They can really take a lot, and they keep going. If you want something done, give it to a Taurus, because they just will keep going until it is done. And so that's why the sign rules endurance. Now, they like to be paid well for that as well, because their sign is the good provider. So Taurus, you can be in the middle of people who have extremely opposing viewpoints and who are not willing to compromise at all. And so you could want to step in and maybe bring some peace to one side or the other. I don't think you're going to want to do that very badly, but you might want to. And I would advise against it, Taurus, because you'd be talking to people who almost can't hear you. They only know what they want. They don't want to listen to anybody else. So don't waste your time, Taurus. What you really need to do is concentrate on your health, which should be getting much better, and also on a corporate position or a position in a government agency that could be changing. And if it changes, it would benefit you. The change would benefit you. You might keep your eyes open for that, Taurus, because there could be some rather nice outcome to how you handle yourself now in this time of pressure and stress. In other words, just stay cool, stay calm. And when it's all over, people are going to remark just, how steady you were, which is a trait of yours. And that could get you promoted. So good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Gemini? Gemini. This is a time when things can be looking up for you, Gemini. And the reason why is that Jupiter and Saturn in Aquarius are squaring that Uranus in Taurus, and they're opposing the 3 planets in Leo, one of which is your ruler, Mercury. But by themselves, they are trining your sun, which is wonderful. So now that Jupiter has come back into Aquarius, and they're both still retrograde, both of these planets, Jupiter, the planet of abundance, and Saturn, the planet of stability and long-term trust and career advancement, both of them are in positions that indicate people want to think over their future choices very carefully right now. And they could be changing their minds about something. If they change their mind about something that you're involved with, Gemini, it will definitely benefit you, because these 2 planets are going to be trining your sun sign until the end of December. And that is when Jupiter will finally go into Pisces for a year, but Saturn will stay in Aquarius. So, Gemini, you really, if you slow down a little bit and you look to other people who share your ideas and you take time to listen to what they have to say, you could certainly benefit. And that, particularly in the next 6 months, you could really benefit. So you really need to communicate more. But it may not be about what you think. It might be about what they think and how their ideas can fit in with your goals. because that is entirely possible. Some of these people are just very enthusiastic. Others are older, more experienced, and they like you. And they're sticking with you, Gemini. But, you know, you have to listen to them too. You can't just go off and do your own thing right now. Not if you want a lasting success in your future. Saturn is a lasting planet. Take advantage of the fact that it is trining your sun, because that is very good for you. So listening to others, this is just the right time to do that, Gemini. So I hope you do. And besides, the problems in the fixed signs are not going to hit you. And the reason why is the planets in Aquarius are trining your sun, but the planets in Leo are sextiling your sun. Those are not harsh aspects to your sun sign at all. And then Uranus is in Taurus right behind your sign, and it has been, and it's going to stay there until 2025. So you're always going to have some little financial blips behind the scenes. But otherwise, you should get through this period of time without feeling as if it was a big crunch for you. I don't think it's going to be. Okay, what does it mean to a Cancer? Well, Cancer, this is a time when you can be an observer, a really careful observer right now, Cancer. And the reason why is that there's no planets in your sign right now. Mercury has moved out. It went into Leo. And so the Sun, Mercury, and Mars are all in Leo right ahead of your sun sign. It would be very easy for you, particularly tomorrow, when Mars is at the 29th degree of fate in Leo, right ahead of your sign. It would be very easy for you to just step into a mess, Cancer, and you must not do it. Hold yourself in. Hold yourself back. Don't be tempted to jump into anything right now. It wouldn't be good. In fact, it would turn out to be really bad. And the reason why is Leo is almost a little bit too supercharged. The sun is there. Well, the sun rules Leo. That can supercharge it. But Mars is coming up. It's a malefic planet. It's coming up against Jupiter right at 29 degrees. But it's also against Saturn and Uranus, which is squaring it. So if you jump into something that is requiring a lot of effort, being very busy, you could regret that, because one thing would lead to another, and maybe you're the person that would be left doing everything. Well, don't do that, Cancer. That's not good for you. And besides, you need a little peace and quiet. You've had planets in your sign for a while, and now you just sort of need to sit back and collect yourself a little bit, and like everyone else, you should be looking over and being honest with yourself about how you feel in the aftermath of this pandemic, and look at everything and the way it has affected you. Every single one of us has been affected differently. We haven't all been affected the same way. And so we all need a little quiet time just to be thinking and pulling ourselves together first. And you can do that right now, Cancer. This is a good time for being quiet. And Neptune in Pisces is still trining your sun. You can still learn more about what's going on behind the scenes. And when the truth comes out in the open, it'll do you a lot of good, because it will involve something that brings justice to the people that you love, or to you, or to your country. It'll be very good when the truth finally comes out. And that'll be the truth that was an omission. It was a lie, but nobody knew it. It's something we weren't told, not something we were told. And, you know, a lot of people paid for that lie. And so when justice is done, it'll be of some comfort to others. Okay, what does it mean to a Leo? Well, Leo, you certainly could be the star right now. you certainly could be wearing the crown. You could be having a great birthday. Maybe you already had that. And so that's because the sun is in your sign, which is wonderful. It's your own ruler. So you can really feel, in one sense, that you really want to do your best for everybody, and that you also want to have a good time. I mean, it's summertime, and so you can be interested in sports or entertainment or in your love life or children or whatever. That would be nice. Mercury is also in your sign, so you really are thinking of something pretty seriously, aren't you, Leo? I would say that if you want to talk to others about your ideas, that's fine. But you might want to wait till Mars leaves your sign. It's been in your sign, and tomorrow it's going to be at that 29th degree of fate in Leo, and it will be opposed by Jupiter at the 29th degree of fate in Aquarius, and also be opposed by Saturn and be squared by Uranus. I'm glad that you might be anticipating a very happy birthday right now, Leo. But on the other hand, we all have to sort of come down to earth and be practical about our future. And there is something in your future that's definitely going to be a change. And it could be a change that you desire, and it could be something you really want. Or it could be something where people are not doing what you want. In other words, if you've been saying, look, I'm the one that should be in charge here because I know more about something than anybody else. Okay, so you could feel you'd be 100% right about that. But there are others that don't want to be controlled by you, or they don't want to be told what to do. They could be looking for a partner, not a boss. And so you have to be a little bit careful at how you approach people right now, Leo. My advice to you for the next week, since these 6 planets are going to be in fixed signs, is that you try to sort of taper back on things, and even set your deadlines back a little bit. In other words, allow for delay. And that way it takes the pressure off you too, Leo. That is a good idea, because you could have felt rather under pressure in the last few months, and that could be making a nervous wreck out of you. That could clear up pretty soon, particularly if you just delay a few things and slow down a little bit and take it easy. With the sun in your sign, I think you really are going to have a great birthday, and I wish you well. But as far as your attitude about doing things with others, I think that's going to have to be amended in one way or another in order to get their cooperation. And so this is crunch time. Either you're going to be able to get their cooperation, or it's going to be goodbye. And that's fine, because if you need cooperation, you can go find it from somebody else, I'm sure. But you really will not be getting your way on everything. That's the main point. And that's why I say just taper off a little bit, and that way if you have a disappointment, it doesn't need to be a real big one, particularly if you're taking the pressure off you instead of putting it on you. Okay, what does it mean to a Virgo? Virgo, you benefit greatly from having Venus in your sign. That's wonderful. That means that your health can be improving. It also means that your job prospects can be improving, because people are seeing you in such a sort of lovable, nice light right now. You should take advantage of that, Virgo. Don't sit home and get out among people. You would be very popular. At the same time, Uranus and Taurus is trining your sun. It's going to stay that way until 2025. And so you should concentrate on your investments a little bit more, Virgo. And the reason why is that the value of them can fluctuate quite a bit with Uranus in Taurus. And that's why if you're looking for some sort of long-term stability, you might have to change your investment strategy in order to get it in these tumultuous times. And so we have to remember that Uranus is such a slow-moving planet. It takes 7 years to get through one sign. Well, there's 12 of those. And so that means it takes 84 years for Uranus to get around a chart once. So when was it there in Taurus the last time? It was there between 1935 and 1942, the era of the Great Depression and World War II. And so we all have to slow down and be a lot more careful. And we have to concentrate on meaningful relationships, not a lot of relationships. The number doesn't matter. What matters is how you feel in your heart. And so Virgos are very discriminating. The sign of Virgo is actually the sign of the bachelor. And so it doesn't mean every Virgo is a bachelor, but a lot of them like their time to be alone. They like their solitude. And you should do a little bit more thinking in your solitude, particularly about your investments, if you're aiming for long-term security. That could be a little harder to find right now than you think, Virgo, so you should concentrate on that a little bit more if you can. Okay, what does it mean to a Libra? Libra. This is a time when it's wonderful that Jupiter came back into Aquarius, because tomorrow it will be at the 29th degree of fate in Aquarius, and it will be joining Saturn there, and it will be exactly opposing Mars at the 29th degree of fate in Leo. It will also be opposing the Sun and Mercury as well. So these planets in Aquarius, Leo, and Taurus are all under pressure, and Taurus is the one that's got a lot of backup. And even Leo has some backup. The moon in Aries is trining that. But the only planets in air signs are in Aquarius. And so Saturn and Jupiter are trining your sun, Libra. So that, since they're both retrograde, it means you have to take a look at your future plans again, Libra. And I would say you got to shrink them a little bit. You know, just eliminate a few plans, or bring them down to a level where they are either shorter term or they are less costly in one way or another. And you might have to defer something that is expensive until another time, because it's crunch time now. And we all have to watch our money pretty closely because it's subject to sudden change. And we also have to reconsider our priorities and how we feel about things. With the planets in Aquarius trining your sun now for the whole rest of the year, that's giving you a lot of support, Libra. It simply means that in the next 6 months, you could set yourself up pretty well for a somewhat stress-free life if you sat down and sort of, like I said, shrink a few things. In other words, maybe you need to shrink your budget. Maybe it's just too expensive right now and it's not really giving you satisfaction. Okay, shrink it. You don't have to blow money. And another thing is that you may be looking for partners if you're eligible, and they could be either, you should ask yourself, what kind of partner do I want? Is it a business partner? Is it a schoolmate or a classmate? Is it somebody who's marriage material? See, there's all kinds of partners. And Libra, you are under aspects that would indicate that you could meet a very good partner who may be older or else may be much more influential than you are. But that person would like your style. And Libras are very charming, but it rules beauty. And Libras take care of themselves. Libra rules touch. So they're really good at just a light little touch that sort of says, I love you. I mean, it doesn't have to be much, but it's very reassuring to others. So try to think of what your best attributes are and what you really can see for yourself in your future, and still shrink it all a little bit so that you're not so disappointed if something doesn't work. It is crunch time. No one is going to get everything that they want. So that is why, put something, delay something for a while. That doesn't mean you don't get it, ever. It just means not now, but maybe in the future. So you can realign your priorities a little bit right now, Libra, and that's what you should do. This is an excellent time for you to do that. And then the other thing, in case I forget to tell you, is you should really make the next 6 months count. Don't waste your time in the next 6 months. Not with both Jupiter and Saturn trining your sun. Because Jupiter's not going to affect your sun. It'll trine your sun again when it gets over to Gemini, but that's going to be 4 years from now. See what I mean? You need to make your time count now in order to have a good future. You just have to think about it, though. Okay, what does it mean to a Scorpio? Well, Scorpio, this is a time when it is possible for you to look around and say, oh, how did I get in this mess? Or what is wrong with the world? It seems to be going crazy. Well, that's true, because the 6 planets that are in fixed signs, particularly the 2 that are both at the 29th degree, a very rare occurrence, believe me. And they're both opposing each other in fixed signs. That's Mars in Leo and Jupiter in Aquarius. Our planets, all 6 of them, are planets that square or oppose your sun sign, Scorpio. But there's nothing in your sun sign. So you can be getting hammered from all sides. It's like no matter what you say, someone's going to argue with you, Scorpio. That's just how they feel. It may not be how you feel. Like I said, there's no planets in your sign. But other people will want to take it out on you right now if you engage with them. This should be a time of being really quiet, Scorpio. You have the support of Neptune in Pisces, which is retrograde, meaning it's going back in its orbit and it's looking up information that it didn't get the first time on its orbit. And then when it goes direct, it'll come back and go direct on its orbit, and all that information will come out. And that will benefit you greatly, which is good, because there could be secrets that you have never considered about some people, that once you find that out, and it will be of things that had happened in the past, once you find that out, your opinion of them could change. Or maybe it could be completed. In other words, sometimes we have a little feeling of uneasiness about somebody that we may not trust, and we don't know why we don't trust them, but we don't. That kind of information could finally come out sometime soon, actually, Scorpio, and that could simply reinforce why you didn't trust them. And that would be good that you'd finally find that out, because then you could trust your own judgment even more. And so you could be very right about something but never have had any proof of it until something that's coming up, I think by the end of the summer or early fall, that will confirm your suspicions. In the meantime, try to avoid people who want to get in an argument, or anybody that has a strong opinion about anything. Even people that agree with you, you should stay away from, Scorpio, because these are such uncertain times, and there could be an uncertainty about future plans. There could be an uncertainty about people's budgets, because they could have unexpected expenses. There are people that have gambled and lost, but they still owe money. That can make them desperate. So you really need to stay by yourself. And it isn't because you want to be the Lone Ranger. It isn't because nobody's good enough for you or anything like that. It is simply a safety measure. your sign needs to really not only keep your guard up, but just build a wall there around you so that you're safe. And this is going to continue at least all this week for sure. And possibly next week. I haven't done the script for next week yet, but it's going to be real chancy. And that's why it's crunch time. And my advice to you is that it probably is going to be better if you limit your trust to just your own judgment and leave it at that. You can trust yourself, Scorpio. So just do that. And try to stay away from everybody else right now. You'll be doing yourself a big favor. Okay, what does it mean to a Sagittarian? Sagittarius. This is a time when you can be feeling as if, your life is sort of rising, or the tide is rising in your life. And by that, I mean there are 4 planets in fire signs and they're all trining your sun, Sagittarius. Oh, that is good for you. And that is because your sun is being trined by the Sun, Mercury, and Mars in Leo, and particularly tomorrow when Mars goes to 29 degrees of Leo. And it's also being trined by the Moon in Aries. Aries rules new beginnings. And so this is, since it involves the lights, the Moon and the Sun, this is an excellent time for some sort of new beginning to actually come into really sharp focus for you, Sagittarius. In other words, you could have been thinking about something for a long time. You could even have been planning for it. You could have been gathering information about it. In other words, you could have been working on something for a long time without it actually getting underway. You would have just been getting prepared for it. But this is an absolutely excellent time to sort of take the next step and do something. Maybe you have to, if it's travel, maybe you have to put some money down. I would do that. Just go right ahead. As long as you know that you would be traveling under safe circumstances. And so you could plan your travels very carefully, which would be a good idea. It's also possible that you will gain from other people who are starting something new. That, in other words, you don't have to be the linchpin here getting it all underway, but that other people can do their part right now and it benefits you greatly. That is a little better explanation of the 4 planets all trining your sun. And so that's nice, Sagittarius. I think that something that you have been desiring or thinking about is closer to coming true now. And you just need to keep going with it, Sagittarius. And if you need to reach out to others, this is a perfect time to do it. They'll be happy to help you. Okay, what does it mean to a Capricorn? Capricorn. This is a time when you can certainly be feeling a lot better. And, the way you would be feeling better is that you would be calmer, be much calmer. And it may be that you are a little bit more on your own right now. Your health can certainly be improving. Venus is in Virgo trining your sun. But, Virgo rules accounting. It rules bookwork. And you could be getting your investments, or you could be getting your plans, or you could just be getting organized at home. And all of that would work out really well for you, which is good. And then Pluto is in your sign. It's retrograde, meaning that you are re-examining your own sense of power. And with Venus trining your sun and Uranus and Taurus trining your sun, and remember by the 31st the moon will be in Taurus as well. There'll still be 6 planets in fixed signs, but one of them will be Uranus and the moon, which is exalted. There is the possibility that you're either thinking about a move or that you're thinking about purchasing something a little pricey for the home. And I think you should do that, Capricorn. I think you have the money. And also, if that's what makes you happy, go right ahead. Venus is a happiness planet, and it's trining your sun. Enjoy that, Capricorn. And I think that's why you can have a more optimistic attitude. And you can see that other people are sort of under a crunch time scenario. And you really need to stay out of that, Capricorn. Don't even comment about anything, because you simply cannot. You would have logical explanations for things. No one's interested in that right now. They're all only interested in their own particular viewpoint. So no compromise right now. No getting together. And so stay out of it, Capricorn. You'll be a lot happier if you do, and a lot calmer. Okay, what does it mean to an Aquarian? Well, Aquarius, it's wonderful, really a lifesaver, that Jupiter is now back in your sign. Because in June and July, I think it was May 26th, it went into Pisces, and now it's back in your sign, and Jupiter is tomorrow at the 29th degree of Aquarius in your sign, and it is being opposed by Mars at the 29th degree of Leo, and squared by Uranus, and also opposed by the Sun and Mercury in Leo. You may feel, Aquarius, as if, oh gee, you didn't do anything, but you're under attack. Or, you could be saying, am I just the wrong person in the wrong place at the wrong time? Well, you might be. So you have to be extra careful with yourself right now, Aquarius, because tomorrow is a dangerous day, definitely. I think it's dangerous at a more destructive level. I don't think it's dangerous if you go to the grocery store, but it's pretty dangerous if one country decides to nuke another. Oh, that could be terrible, because remember, it's not the first hit that counts, it's the last one. And you would want to stay away from anything that looked suspicious or threatening, or if you were hearing talk in your job about budget cuts, you should not say a word. This is not a time to express your opinion, Aquarius, but it is a very good time for you to carefully examine things that have been going on for a while in your life. And with these two retrograde planets in your sign, but they're excellent planets, Saturn and Jupiter, you may be changing your mind about something. You may be changing your priorities. You may be saying, look, I want something really good, so we'll have to do something over in order to make it good. And you would be right. It would take time, but you would be right about that. And it's just that I don't think you can get cooperation from too many people right now. So this is not the time for you to go forward and tell others what you want. They would jump on you. They wouldn't agree with you. They'd jump on you and criticize you. And, it's just the wrong time. They're not going to listen. But why don't you just hold that thought, Aquarius? Because you've got Jupiter and Saturn in your sign clear for the next 6 months, clear till Christmas. Whatever you have to say, maybe you can say a little later on in the fall, because you've just got some real good planets in your sign. Jupiter often offers protection, and it also offers expansion. So your life could expand if you just sort of stay quiet and keep examining your priorities and looking now at who you are. Not how you were before the pandemic, but how you are now and what you feel like now. Some of us have lost loved ones recently, and it changes your view of the world. And we need time to assimilate our changes in our heart before we decide what steps to take in the future. But the planets in your sign are retrograde, and that means that some people have to go back and re-examine things so that they don't make the same mistake twice. And maybe that's what you need to do, Aquarius. Just give it a go. But you have protection as well. Okay, what does it mean to a Pisces? Pisces. This is a time when sort of the heat is off. And the reason why, Pisces, is there aren't very many people, many planets in water signs. In fact, there's only one. And it is Neptune in your sign, Pisces. But that's your own ruler. However, it is retrograde, or going backward. And so, Pisces, you have to be a little bit more alert to what people are telling you right now. Because if you had a little recording machine in your brain and somebody was talking to you about one of their favorite topics now, you might be able to sort of rewind and think about what they said 6 months ago or last year. And it is possible that their feelings or their statements would not match. In other words, sometimes people hold things back from others because they decide, well, gee, they're not ready to hear this yet, so they don't say it. They don't tell the truth about something. And then you're a little bit lost and befuddled, and you don't know why people are doing things because they haven't explained it to you. Well, so that might stimulate you to go back and check facts a little bit more, Pisces, which you ought to do. Or in your mind or in your memory, you should go back, even take a look at some old pictures that you've got and see how you feel about the people in those pictures today. Because you may have a different view of them than you used to have. Remember, this is a period of time, it is crunch time. But I think that has a lot to do with budgets and with money. But inside our hearts, it has to do with who we love now and what we love now. And we don't need more of anything, but what we do need are people and things in our lives that are precious just to us. It doesn't matter if they're new or not, just if they're precious to us. And Pisces, you could downsize in your life and still have everything that is precious to you without forsaking your happiness at all. Because your heart knows how you feel. So why don't you ask your heart what's going on now and see how you've changed instead. You don't need to look at others changing, just see how you've changed, because it really could be for the best. Okay, thanks so much for tuning in. Remember, you can see the show and read our blog on our website, starborninstitute.org. Bye.